Welcome to Forsyth Jail and Prison Ministries annual breakfast. We're so glad you're here, so very, very thankful you're here. My name is Mark Hogsett. I'm the executive director. For about 6 months, I've been the executive director for Forsyth Jail and Prison Ministries, and it's just been wonderful. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here. It's going to be a great morning. Stories of life change that you are making possible. I really want you to understand that this morning. You are making all of this possible. You're making our ministry possible. You're making our Transition to Work program possible. We're also going to honor Rodney Stillwell this morning as he retires for his... I'll tell you what, you know Rodney is a legend when he doesn't even come up on stage and he gets a standing ovation practically.
I first met Rodney in 2014 when he and Scott Bauer approached BB&T to become one of the sponsors for the breakfast here. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on Rodney. Born in Greensboro, Rodney attended Wingate College and graduated from the University of North Carolina with a BA in Sociology and Religion in 1978. After graduation, Rodney served as a youth worker in Uruguay when he organized programs for children and young adults. After 2 years, he returned to the United States to marry Beth Humphreys. You outkicked your coverage there, Rodney. To prepare for the ministry at the seminary. He was hired as chaplain at the Orange and Alamance Correctional Centers and soon fell in love with the chaplaincy service. 36 years ago, in 1985, he was called to serve as senior chaplain for the Forsyth Jail and Prison Ministries. During his work with the organization, he oversaw the new chaplain's construction on the grounds of the prison. So Rodney has touched many lives here in Forsyth County with his conversations and just his mentoring of people. But, you know, everyone in life needs a purpose. And I haven't asked Rodney his purpose in life, but if I had to ask him, I bet part of his purpose would be, helping the inmates that go to the prison to get back on their feet and be productive members of society. It's my honor and privilege to introduce Rodney Stillwell, the obvious guest speaker for this morning's annual prison breakfast. Rodney?
I had a teacher who was a good mentor of mine many years ago in college, and every once in a while he would take off his glasses when he got to preaching and teaching all combined together. And one day, one brave student asked him, he said, "Dr. Bell, why do you take your glasses off at certain times?" And he'd say, "Because I've got things I have to say, and I don't want to see your reaction to them." Well, I thought about doing that this morning, but I don't have the greatest of eyes anyway, and I'm not sure I can see much of any of you anyway. It's been quite a party. Today is the November 30th, 2021. It was December 1st, 1985, that I first stood in front of some of you or in this community and became the senior chaplain of the Forsyth, then the Forsyth Prison Chaplaincy. So today fulfills 36 years that I have worked with you and walked with you, and it's been quite a party. I can't tell you, most of you know by my young looks, I started here when I was 14, and it's been quite a party each of those 36 years. Forsyth Jail and Prison Ministries is all about reconciliation. We bring together very diverse groups, people at the back, people at the front, people from the right, people from the left. We bring together people who don't vote, Republicans, Democrats. We bring together African American, Latino. We bring together Episcopals, Catholics, Baptists, snake handlers. We bring together law enforcement, ex-offenders, people who should be offenders. We bring together all kinds of people. It's about reconciliation. We don't talk a whole lot about politics. We don't talk a whole lot about theology. And we can only agree on a few very central and essential things. And that we need to be unified and we need to take responsibility for our problem of crime. And as people of faith, we take together very seriously that forgiveness is the work of God's people. It does not belong to Raleigh, and it certainly does not belong to Washington. It is in the church because forgiveness is what the church, and second chances is what the church is all about. We have Bible study and worship. We have prayer groups. We also have financial management classes. We have literacy classes. We have racial reconciliation courses. We have assistance for other members of other faith groups. We've had yoga, substance abuse classes. Last year, we taught a class of how to take an inmate from being an inmate to an entrepreneur. We have had small engine repair classes. We have had all kinds of studies that run the range. We were diverse by who we were and what we offered over a long time. Before diversity became a corporate cliche, or before it became a goal of America, we were a diverse group. We were multicultural, multiracial, interfaith, extra flavor, low carb, you name it, it was us. And this was long before the community of the world caught on around us, back in the days when there were only 3 TV channels and everybody had rabbit ears and tinfoil. That's how far back we go. And our one thought has been to bring people together to share the love of God to transform people's lives and to employ the resources of the community in order to do that. All that while in 36 years, I have gone a long way and grown a whole lot, and I appreciate yours and the patience of so many other people who have allowed me to grow from a chaplain to a counselor, to a programmer, to a fundraiser, to even today as a part-time worker with the ministry as our aftercare ministry program director. It's funny to be recognized here today for hopefully more positive than negative. But in the early years, I was recognized mainly for the negative. Not many of you know that on more than one occasion, I was almost run out of town. Called our personnel committee chief of the HR committee chairman, told him about a problem I have with a very prominent person that was on the board and involved in the ministry, and I expected to be, consoled and expected to have my wounds licked and everything else, and it's going to be all right. I'll talk to him. And I heard, well, if you pissed him off, you need to pack your suitcase and leave town. I said, what'd you say? He said, you heard me. Tell me how it goes out when you talk to him. And he hung up. I haven't been always recognized for success, but has struggled in the early years. And I was recognized as many things in many places by many people. One of my favorite remembrances is playing basketball with a big guy. He had a big backside, and we played a couple games of basketball out in the yard. He was an inmate there for several years and had been a really accomplished athlete in his time in college. And we played basketball, and I had a little game back in the day, and so we played, and I beat him in a couple games, and then he reeled me in and taught me something. And he backed me down in the third game, and he said, chap, he said, let's play for a soda. I said, all right, I'm down. I beat you twice. I'll beat you a third time. I said, I like Dr. Pepper. Get ready to buy one. He backed me down the lane with that big butt, and he worked that thing and worked that thing. He just shooted over me like that. Next thing I know, he beat me, and he laughed, and he said, I said, you knew you were going to do that. He said, yeah, let's go get a soda. So I pulled an old preacher trick on him. I said, I left my wallet in the chapel. I said, I'll get back with you soon. So a week passed, a day passed, and every time he'd see me, how about that? And he said, chap, I've decided I don't want a soda. He said, but they got a new brand of honey buns. And I really want a honey bun. Let's get one. So a couple days I saw him, a couple days I avoided him, and next thing you know, he's yelling at me across the prison yard. Now, you haven't lived until you've been across a prison yard, and a man yells at you with a deep voice across there, and he yells in front of 200 other inmates, hey, honey buns, honey buns. From that point on, I wasn't recognized as the senior chaplain. I was recognized as Chaplain Honey Buns. Took several years to get over that recognition. I hope this one's not quite as bad. In the early days, we were excited about building a chapel, and by the grace of God and the leadership of Dr. David Burr, pastor of First Presbyterian Church, forgive me, David, we were able to build the model chapel in this state. An exquisite building that has been our home base and has opened doors of hope for countless people over these years. Teaching the classes, having people like you to come and meet our men and to help them to change their lives by providing advice and counsel and mentoring and support in every way, helping them to go on and be productive people after they left and wipe off all the dust that had been in there with them. That chapel has been an answer to prayer for so many people's lives. And seeing the potential of this community and what you could do through that building at the jail and at the prison led me one afternoon after a long day's work of riding home in my 74 Volkswagen, sitting at a stoplight and sitting there and saying, God, this is a pretty good gig. I'll be here until you tell me to leave. And I have felt his presence just like at that stoplight for all these many decades since then. Our ministry has been a source of racial reconciliation. I can say some things now because you don't ever have to invite me back to speak. Our community is sorely divided, and as soon as we talk about criminal justice and crime and punishment, whether we realize it or not, we're talking about racial division. We're talking about places and things that we don't like to talk about because they're uncomfortable, no matter if you're African American or if you're white or Latino. Things get sweaty and clammy real quick when we begin to go into those kinds of subjects. But our chapel is named for Dr. David R. Hedgley and Dr. W.K. McGee, an African American retired pastor and a Caucasian white pastor, and how they, in their retirement, forged together and started this ministry and were the real spearheads behind it. And our chapel was named for them. And we have been true to our roots in every community, despite of our multicultural divisions that are real and separate us. This ministry has been a beacon of hope to everybody that started with that salt and pepper team who came out to the prison and had a vision that we would be here and this organization would do what it does one day today. We called Sandra Thigpen to be the first female African American chaplain at an all-male facility in the state of North Carolina. We created a program called Brethren Building Bridges, where Latino and black and white people, volunteers and inmates gathered together to share their stories, to hear and to others to hear stories that they'd never heard before of the wounds and the struggles they had because of their race and background. And there was a lot of healing that happened out of that. After our work in racial reconciliation, we've also done a great deal with families. We had a program where a guy named Tim came one day who'd never seen his little 4-year-old daughter. He came to me one day after one of our family programs, and he came to me and said, I want to be a father. Right now, all I am is a sperm donor, and I need you to teach me how to be a father. So he came up, and we started to talk, we started to pray, and we started to listen, and we reached out, and before you know it, the little girl was able to come up and to go through one of the programs with him. He got out of prison, he did well, he started several businesses, he's a teacher in his Sunday school class. Time goes on, one day there's a knock at the door at that chapel. And here is Tim standing there with this beautiful young 20-year-old woman. Well, Tim's in his 30s by now, and I've seen this story before, Kenny, and I'm going, oh crap, don't come up here and ask me to marry you and this kid. I will get violent on you real quick. And stupid me with my assumptions, this is his daughter. And he's telling me how beautiful of a child she is and how she's going to college next year and how she was just baptized at his church the week before. He goes in and we had him set up to do some talking with some of the inmates and to kind of do a little presentation about his life. And she and I are at the back talking. She looks over at me and she says, do you still do all your programs with the children? I said, yes. She said, I came to one when I was just 4. I said, yeah, I remember. She said, I have the doll on my dresser that you folks gave me that day. I keep the doll because the day I got that doll was the day I got my daddy. And she says, he may not look like much to you, but I would have been drug addicted and pregnant before I was 12 if I had continued to live with my addict mother on the street. And he saved my life. And he may not look like much to you, but he's the best dad God ever put on this earth. And we learned that the families are an important part of our ministry. After that, they built a new jail downtown. We moved on from there. There were many stories. To meet that need, we went to the Moravians, and they developed a partnership that was unheard of, unthought of at the time. And they gave us a Moravian chaplain that we still have here today. And they fund him completely independently of our organization. And they say, we pay him, we hire him, everything, you just put him to work. And we've been doing that for over a quarter of a century. The time went on and the community became so and so more important. And we began to see our ministry was not only on the inside, but on the outside. And so we started reaching out to people in banks and people in corporations and people in the community and telling them what they were doing and what we were doing and asking them to be involved, and how the momentum changed and our mission broadened into the community. And we had this breakfast and others just like it. And we won the Western Award for nonprofit management, and Blue Cross Blue Shield's Healthy Communities for a statewide award that we won for how we were doing and how efficient and effective we were in our programs. And that was all because as we reached out to you, you shared things with us, and we broadened the programs and broadened the effectiveness of what was happening inside the jail and the prison. And the community became unified where it couldn't agree on anything else, but it could agree that we have a problem with crime and violence, and we ought to do something about it as a people in our community. Transition to work, it's really developed into transition to life. But it's why we're here today. Because if you will do as an incarcerated person 5 things, we will do 5 things for you. We'll help you with housing, we'll help you with a mentor, we'll help you with transportation, we will help you with a job, we will help you with substance abuse counseling. And while the state recidivism rate is around 40%, the recidivism rate for the Transition to Work program is less than 8%. One of the coolest things we did was we took the guys out on a retreat. We take them to the mountains. And one time we took them and there was a big county fair. Now this is the mountains. Let's do some math. Let me just be real. Probably out of the 31 guys that went, 24 of them were African American. Where did I say this was? The mountains. Well, I was the chaplain in charge, and I had a genius idea that I thought that we would go out and have a scavenger hunt in the fair. You had to go help somebody. You had to go thank a veteran for his service. You had to go see somebody carrying a box and help them. You had to go tell somebody your favorite Bible. It had all these kind of crazy things you had to do to accomplish your list on the scavenger hunt. So I sell the guys the idea. We get ready to go out. Donnell's standing at the back. Donnell's African American. He says, "Chaplain," he said, "we're going out to the fair." I said, "Yeah, we're going to just go out there and do these things." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm not sure, but how many of the brothers do you think will be at the fair today?" "How are we going to do that?" I said, "Gee, Donnell, I'm white." I said, you're the black man that lives in the white world. Why don't you tell me how to do it?" Roy stood up and says, "I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get one of these other white guys to be my partner." I want you to know that afternoon, Those 31 ex-offenders, 10 of them, 11 of them white, 20 of them black, changed that community. They went out and they served and they met and they talked and they prayed and they blessed those people and they changed those lives and they were changed as well. Katherine Johnson was one of the many African-American female NASA mathematicians that we've all heard about in recent years, whose calculations behind the scene really made all of the NASA space missions possible. But like others, she remained in the back rooms, on the back pages. You, each and every one of you, whether your name's Joe or Kelly or Canny or Brett or Courtney, or whether your name is Martha or Henry or Fred or Betty or whatever your name is, you're just like Katherine Johnson. You're responsible, each of you, for the behind the scenes for the front headlines, the breakthroughs and the transformed lives that we talk about up here and show pictures of. There's a little bit of each of you that I will carry with me all the rest of the days of my life. Because together, we have taken the struggle of love and never blinked and looked right into the face of crime and violence and drug abuse and punishment. And we've taken the war to where it needs to be fought in the hearts of men and women in this community, in and outside of our facilities. And we have lowered recidivism and transformed lives in these years. It's true, I've been the loudest voice, but you have been the body of the voice. And in recognizing me today, you have recognized what I have not done alone, but what I have done with you and through you and because of you. All that God has done, He has done it through you as we have done it together. I thank you for your faith. I thank you for your friendship, for your fellowship, and for the trust that you put in me when I started to serve here. I thank you for forgiving me when I was wrong. I thank you for picking me up when I have been down. I thank you for accepting me for who I am and for walking into that jail and that prison to share God's love together. For the last 36 years, I have been humbled and blessed to have been your servant. Thank you. It's been quite a party. God bless you.
I spent 6 years incarcerated, and those 6 years, and maybe you'll understand, maybe you won't, those were the best 6 years of my life, because those were the 6 years of the beginning of where I am now.
Well, you spent some time at different prisons. Most of us do in our incarceration journey. What was different about being here in Forsyth County at the Forsyth Correctional Center?
Well, the
From the
difference
others?
the difference between Forsyth County prison as well as Ministries and other camps is that there was a sense of peace. Most prison camps that you go to, you feel the tension and it just hovers above you. But with Forsyth County, the role that the volunteers, the chaplaincy played in my life was the role of hope. You can be. You are. Never give up. Regardless of what happens, we still love you. Now that will make a man continue to keep going and going and going regardless.
Tell me about your hobby. I'm interested in your hobby.
Okay.
He's got it may be an addiction, but it's a good one.
I race RC cars. And it's like a 1/8 scale RC car. It's like a miniature real car. And I love it to death. You know, it's expensive too, Chad.
Yeah, it's expensive too.
But nevertheless, this teaches me, these cars teach me, how to be responsible. I went from drugs to drive. From robbing to racing. So hey, I don't have no complaints. I'm thankful.
So's the community.
But if you don't mind, I would love to say this right here. Earlier, I had spoke to some gentlemen at a table over here. And I told these gentlemen, I says, man, they was telling me how nice you look and all this kind of stuff. I says, well, look, man, and this goes to all of you all. Without you, I would not be here. I would not be here. Because you guys deposited so much love within me, so much hope within me, that I choose not to fail. And not only do I choose not to fail, I also choose to share what you guys have deposited in me. So jail and prison ministry, volunteers, donate, whatever part you play in this, thank you.
The guys who go out on the Department of Transportation work release, they go out for the Department of Transportation and they clean our roads and do all kinds of helping with the DOT group. And our inmates come back and they brought back something they had found in the ditch. It was the biggest darn trash bag you've ever seen. It was probably 4 feet by 3 feet, big old huge trash bag they had found. Were brand new stuffed animals and brand new children's toys. But on the outside, it didn't look anything other than just another piece of trash. But when somebody who had the patience to go out into the ditch on the side of the road and to find something that was deemed worthless and went to look for it and brought it back and cleaned it up and dusted it off, and it made treasures for countless number of kids in our community. This community is about transformation. It's about forgiveness, and it's about reconciliation. We know that God cares about each and every one of us, regardless of who we are, what we've done, or what side of 52 we grew up on. I have walked with you for a long 36 years. Mark will lead you, and Tajado will lead you in the next generation of leaders and community people on this mission, and will lead this family. But make no mistake, where this family walks in the next 36 years will be up to you. Today, you have a chance to go on the outside of the ditch to find a treasure and to watch the transformation go from trash to treasure, to help them to hear that they are better, that their life matters, that there is a better way and someone who can help them to get there, that there is a plan to their problem and a purpose to their pain, and someone has made a promise that the tomorrow can be better if they will just let go and let God. And that voice, that needs to be heard, and you need to say it. Now, not all of you can go to the ditch and go to the side, but all of us can give some money all of us can give some time. And so now you have an opportunity to speak to Artemis and hundreds others who are in that ditch and who need to come out. And you need to speak a word of hope and of joy and of transformation. And how you do that is with your time and your support and your pocketbook. So use the envelopes and use your cards and use your pens. And let's open the doors to the next generation of hope to those who are hurting.
Thank you, Rodney. My first day at the ministry, Rodney took his nameplate off his office door and he put my nameplate up there. And then he looked at me and said, "You may be the latest, but I'm still the greatest." To which I said, "I agree. I'm not going to fight you on that." We got a card in the mail at the prison a couple of days ago. It was a card from a former inmate, and he was writing in it just how thankful he was for the ministry and how much it meant to him. And he was saying thank you to the staff, thank you to the chaplains, thank you this and thank you that. And as I read that card, I was thinking about this morning. And I thought, really, he should be saying thank you to all of you. You're the unsung heroes. We cannot do this without you. Cannot replace a Rodney Stillwell. We're not even going to try. Rodney's built an incredible foundation, but I tell you what we will do is we're going to build on that foundation that Rodney has built. I can promise you that. Cannot replace the man, but we can move the ministry forward. We can move the Transition to Work program forward and impact more and more lives, but we can only do it with your help. As you know, we're community funded. Rodney just told you all about that. So what you do this morning allows our programs to move on and carry on all through next year. So I want to thank you in advance for what you're doing. Once you fill that card out, if you'll stick it in that large yellow envelope on your table, we'll collect those after the fact. This has been an incredible morning. Absolutely incredible morning. I hope you'll continue to pray for Rodney. He's been such a vital part of my transition into the executive director role, and I'm thankful for that, Rodney. I want you to know that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Pray for Rodney.